Artsy sister. We're reading Saturnastra, Marduke, part 2 of chapter 1. Alright, let's continue. Rudy took the reins of our horse and he started marching ahead. Mother followed just a few steps behind. As we entered, I took time to admire the scenery. Beyond the dragon towers, I saw the stone walls that rose behind a giant wooden barricade. From the outside, the place had the air of being a den of thieves. From the inside, the city was quite elaborate. The trees and the barricades hid from sight a huge bustling city. To be honest, I had expected to see tents and heads on spikes. Instead, all about me, I saw merchants, cutler's, iron workers, etc. From time to time, we saw some groups sprawling. The houses were made of stone and the roofs were made of bricks. Some of the houses were made of humbler materials. The streets were wide and the houses were arranged in neat little blocks. Rudy explained that this arrangement made it easy for their armies to circulate. It also took care of the rampant cholera outbreaks that used to overtake the city. It may look pretty on the surface, but our aqueducts are pretty complex. They call and unwind all over the city like a library. Seeing my mystified expression, Rudy explained, they say our Raja keeps a minotaur beneath the city. He lives off our shit. I giggled at this odd factoid. As for Mother, she was hardly amused. Looming over the city was a huge citadel. Its ominous high towers casted a shadow over the city. The castle was built into the mountain. According to Rudy, it was carved from the mountain itself. The citadel had 5 main towers connecting the main faces of the building. 4 faces faced the outside, and the 5th tower bled into the mountain. So the part that was visible was carved in black bricks fused with ebony. As for the towers, they were each designed after a mythological base. The first 4 were designed as the Chimera, a dragon, a sphinx, and a cyclops. The design of the 5th tower was unknown because it was invisible to the outside world. The castle had the shape of a 5-pointed star. The fancy architecture was limited to the tower. The rest of the castle decoration had explicit militaristic aims. When we got closer to the castle, I noticed the usual water dish surrounding it. According to Rudy, it was fed from the waterfall that lay hidden behind the 5th tower. When we got to the gate, Rudy spoke to one of the guards that had the bridge lowered. When the gates opened, the citadel looked even more surreal. Beyond it lay a huge training ground, and on the left wing I saw the archery shooting range. Bows of all sizes and shapes lay neatly aligned. On the right I saw rows and rows of weapons. And what made my blood boil was the color of the training grounds. It was red. At its center there was an elaborate water fountain. It had many sculptures. It's dedicated to the polar gods. Each pair of opposing gods was sculpted facing each other in a neat row. Some were intertwining as if fusing into one another around the legs. Beyond the fountain lay the Rio Palace, and at the center of the star. It was raised high above the flight of stairs. The main building had a simple box shape with large stained glass windows. For a roof, it had a crystalline dome. Unlike the outside, the main building was made of white marble. It had a soft, contouring column that curled at the top. Stopping, Rudy turned around and said, "Wait here, and I will put the horse in the stables." While Mother waited, she fidgeted a little. By now she was pretty tired of carrying me, so she left me on the floor. She took me by the hand, and I noticed that it was pretty sweaty. Feeling the heat getting to her, Mother walked with me to the fountain. She sat at the edge of the fountain, and she reached down to get some water. Feeling it cold to her touch, she drank it, and I took sips its icy depths and found it refreshing. Around us, I could hear the guards marching and arguing. While enjoying the cool breeze, I wondered why no one was using the training ground. Heck, aside from the guards, I hardly saw any other soldiers. Suddenly, one of the side doors opened. A maiden in a blacksmith leather apron came out. Her short black hair was held back by a dirty white cloth. She too wore leather brown pants and white shirt. Her pale face seemed flushed, as if she had been exposed to a terrible heat. She walked over to the center of the training ground. Seeing us sitting by the fountain made her walk in our direction even faster. Remember Rudy's warning. Mother wondered what she should say if she'd be forced to speak. The lady stopped before us. She was no older than 30. She beat her lower lip while she studied us. Before she spoke to us, her attention was diverted by Rudy, who was returning. Waving his hand towards the maiden, he said, "Hey sis, what's cooking?" "Look, you jerk," said the maiden, walking over to him. Giving him a good yank of his red hair, she said, "What are you doing outside your post?" "Relax, sis, I'm on official business," said Rudy, pointing to my mother. "That woman has a meeting with the elders." "Fine, whatever," she said. She added, "Why did I come here anyway?" The cold wind that passed was her answer. "Damn, it's so hot and stuffy inside the fort. I'm calling it a day, bro. I will see you when we get back home, and don't be late for dinner." Right, said Rudy, rubbing his hair. Finding a bald spot, he cursed his sister heartily, but only when she was out of earshot. Once he was done, he said to my mother, "While I was out, I informed the elders of your arrival. They are waiting for you inside our king's hall." "Am I to have an audience with His Highness as well?" asked my mother. "No, the king is out fighting on some stupid war for some stupid reason. That's why our castle is working with a skeleton crew. When he's out doing stupid, distracted things, the elders take care of everything. When he returns, he will be informed of the elders' decision." "What happens if he does not return?" When he heard her question, Rudy started laughing heartily. When he recovered, he added, "Bersamin is not the kind of guy who dies easily. Now come, I will lead you to the palace. Once you're inside, you will be all alone. Always answer truthfully to all of the questions. If you lie, you die. So no pressure." What time does it say in the thingy?
8.
Mother gulped at this warning. Taking my hand, we followed Rudy up a huge flight of stairs that led to the main door of the palace. The portal was open ajar, and on the inside there was a long hallway. It was decorated with columns. They were all twisted and coiling like serpents of different colors. Their base looked like stylized water. This complemented the blue marble floor. As for the walls, they were decorated with mirrors. This multiplied the columns 100 times fold. The roof was vaulted and decorated with paintings of battles, the gods, and even the stars. At the end of the hollow mirror, there was the imposing empty throne. Sitting before the throne, in lace cushions, sat 21 yellow old men and women. They each wore delicate robes of different designs and patterns. The main elder was an elven woman that was way past her prime. Her hands were wrinkled and withered. Her face seemed about to melt off. It was hard to distinguish her from the other elders. What gave away her elfish origin were her small pointed ears that lay hidden behind her long hair. What was once a beautiful blonde hair had turned to ash. What struck me as odd were her strange great eyes. They looked dispassionately in our direction. Her skin had a deep tan color. She gestured to Mother to sit before her. A girl came from one of the mirror doors with a chair. Mother sat before them with me in her hands. The old elf was the first to speak to us. "Rudy told us the gist of your mother's letter. I found that interesting, child. Now tell me your version of the story," demanded the elder. "My son died. My real son died. He got a cold and he died, just like that. He was so fragile and weak. The doctors warned me that he would not live long. Still, I was not prepared for his death. I mean, who is? And while my poor son lay dying in my arms, my husband was with God knows food." She took out a handkerchief and she wiped a tear. "Take your time, dear. After he breathed his last breath, I blacked out. And then, nothing. I buried my son and my husband the next day. It seems that one of his lovers, had brutally slaughtered him. He was always stingy with the money. My mother, she assisted me with the funerals, and after it was done, she told me to bring this letter to Bersamin. And she said I was to live here from now on, and that I was never to return home." My mother finished after this. The elder frowned at her response. Clearly she had worked the truth at a certain point. And the boy inquired the elder. I found him. I want to raise him on my own, said my mother, hugging me. That will be all, thank you, said the elder elf. I hereby give you amnesty to Veragerung. One of the mirror doors opened from the side. There came an old man dressed like the blue boy of Gainsborough. He brought the elder a huge book and ink, a feather and quill. The elder opened the book to an empty page. She said, Name, Miranda Blanchett, responded my mother. Age, I will be 16 in the 7th night of the 45. And the babe, what is his name? I found him. I still have to figure out a name for him. Age, 2, maybe 3, said my mother, patting my head. While you live here, you will abide by our rules, said the elder. Yes, my lady, said mother humbly. It is our tradition that men name their sons, and since the boy does not have a father, he will remain nameless until a man gives him a name. Is that understood, said the elder seriously. Yes. For now, make yourself at home in the palace. A room for you and your shower has been prepared. Dinner will be brought to your room. Rest from now from your weary travels. After this, the elders rose and left to one of the mirror doors. Mother looked about, and once she was left alone, she saw Rudy gesturing to her from one of the open mirror doors. By now, I was so sleepy that I could barely keep my eyes open. What time?
3 minutes and 30 seconds.
While I slept, I felt myself sinking deeper and deeper. I was in the hall of mirrors. I looked at the floor and I said, that looks like water. When I said this, I felt the floor becoming squeaky. Slowly my feet began to sink into the ground. The floor seemed like a whirlpool. I swam towards one of the snake columns to keep myself from sinking. However, it was made of real snake. I started falling towards the side, and water and all, and I fell into one of the mirrors. It felt like cold water, and as I sank, I saw my siblings from far away. They were changing, becoming something new and different. They seemed to be so far away. Before I drowned into the mirror, a hand reached out and pulled me out. I had a sound that I had not heard in a long time, and at its sound, the mirrors and the water cracked, and I was then left in utter peaceful darkness. When I awoke, I did not recognize the roof standing over me. I felt myself shaking in cold sweat. Looking around, I saw that I was in a soft feathery bed. Enjoying its comfort, I rested my head against it. There was no light inside the room. The windows were open to let the night breeze enter. I could hear the curtains sweeping softly over the floor. I tried to go to sleep, but I was not able to. A thought was banging inside my brain. I wanted to see the Space Tower. What I was searching for might possibly be hiding there. I rose quickly from my bed. My mother lay near me sleeping, and I also noticed that I was wearing different clothing. It felt like a soft linen. It was a bit tight around my neck. Fiddling around, I unbuttoned the shirt around my chest. Taking a deep breath, I left my mother's side. Slowly, I opened the door. On tiptoes, I wandered past the lavender hall. Cautiously, I opened the last door at the end of the hallway, and I saw that it led to the hall of mirrors. With the candles lighted in the mouth of the serpent, the place looked even creepier. I can't read anymore. Bye-bye and God bless.